I'm Ron Strickland. This webcast is one of a series in which I'm presenting some brief lectures and commentaries on topics from the courses I teach in literature and cultural studies. This particular episode is one of several on the 17th century English poet John Milton and his most famous poem, Paradise Lost. In earlier episodes, I've said some things about Milton's biography and the historical context in which he lived and wrote. And I've discussed the invocation to the muse and the introduction to the poem in Book 1 of Paradise Lost. Here I'm going to comment on the end of Book 1 and the view of the character of Satan that begins to emerge as we finish our reading of Book 1. You'll recall that we have learned that Satan has been cast out of heaven after going to war against the Almighty. He and his minions have been hurled headlong flaming down to hell. He awakens on the shore of a fiery lake, disoriented, and sees his lieutenant Beelzebub lying next to him and begins to speak. He recounts the events that have happened for himself and Beelzebub, and also for us, the readers. His speech is self-deceiving. He's not willing to admit to Beelzebub that his desire to raise himself to the height of God was always inevitably futile. Soon, Satan regains his composure, and he calls the fallen angels together and addresses the troops. O myriads of immortal spirits, O powers matchless, but with the Almighty. And that strife was not inglorious, though the event was dire, as this place testifies. And this dire change, hateful to utter, but what power of mind foreseeing or presaging from the depth of knowledge past or present could have feared? How such united force of gods, how such as stood like these, could ever know repulse? For who can yet believe, though after loss, that all these puissant legions, whose exile hath emptied heaven, shall fail to reascend, self-raised, and repossess their native seat? For me be witness all the host of heaven, if counsels different or dangers shunned by me have lost our hopes. But he who reigns monarch in heaven, till then as one secure sat on his throne, upheld by old repute, consent, or custom, and his regal state put forth at full, but still his strength concealed, which tempted our attempt and wrought our fall. Henceforth his might we know, and know our own, so as not either to provoke or dread new war, provoked. Our better part remains to work in close design, by fraud or guile, what force effected not, that he no less at length from us may find, who overcomes by force, hath overcome but half his foe. Space may produce new worlds, whereof so rife there went a fame in heaven that he ere long intended to create, and therein plant a generation, whom his choice regard should favor equal to the sons of heaven. Thither, but if to pry, shall be perhaps our first eruption, thither or elsewhere, for this infernal pit shall never hold celestial spirits in bondage, nor the abyss long under darkness cover. But these thoughts full counsel must mature. Peace is despaired, for who can think submission? War, then, war, open or understood, must be resolved. In his address to the assembled demonic legions, Satan again emphasizes individual autonomy and self-determination, admirable virtues for human heroes. Further, he represents God as a tyrannical monarch. Like the traditional feudal aristocracy, God rules in heaven, not because he deserves to rule by merit, according to Satan, but only because of old custom and tradition. Perhaps most significantly in this speech, Satan gives us a bit of foreshadowing about the ultimate stakes of his war against the Almighty. There was a rumor before the rebellion of a new creation, a new kind of creature, on whom God would show favor equaling, if not superior, to that shown to the angels. It is the fate of humanity, then, that will become the battleground upon which Satan will contest with the Almighty. So that speech sets the stage for what will come. Satan directs the demons to build a grand assembly hall, a place for a parliament, a place for democratic debate. But as we will see in Book 2, an open democratic debate can be diverted by skillful rhetorical manipulation. With that, I'll conclude this webcast. But, as always, if you have questions or comments, please send me an email.